Good evening and welcome back, ladies, gents and Pikachus. I wanted to do a quick comment response from a chap called Coventry Punk. Now his question was, can I find some hateful verses in the Quran and tell them what they are and supply the meanings? Can I find any? And I thought immediately, I've spent years reading and studying different versions and editions of Quran. I have 8 and I've read them through, and I'm now on the 8th one making videos. I've done 153 episodes of a verse by verse breakdown. I think I can find some verses for you. In fact, my immediate response was, a more difficult question would be, can I find some verses in the Quran that are not hateful in their message? So anyway, I thought rather than just write a long comment for you, which you probably won't read, here are 5 select verses just to give you a slight indication of the hateful nature of the verses of the Quran, and I'll tell you what they mean as we go through them. So we're starting with Surah 4 verse 89. Quote, "Slay the unbelievers wherever you find them. Turn them out of their homes and catch them. Kill them, for persecuting is worse than killing." End quote. So we get off to a good start, I feel. So if we break this down, what does it mean? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, really, isn't it? Slay the unbelievers, kill them, wherever you find them, catch them, turn them out of their homes, and kill them, for persecuting is worse than killing. So do I need to go into more detail about what this means? Well, probably not, but I'm going to. Slay the unbelievers wherever you find them means whether you're in your own country, whether you're travelling along a road to another country, or whether you have made your home in another country, it doesn't matter where you are, slay the unbelievers is the main thing to remember. So anyone who's not a Muslim, slay them. There's no qualification for that, it's just slay non-believers wherever you find them all of the time. Catch them wherever you find them means you're looking for them. You are a sentry out there looking for people to find who are non-believers so that you can slay them wherever you find them. It does qualify this, however. Turn them out of their homes and kill them. So now, not only are you deployed on the streets of every single country and your own country in order that you can slay the non-believers, look for the non-believers first, when you find them, catch them and kill them, you're also turning them out of their own homes. So it's not good enough that you are roaming the streets of their country looking for these non-believers of Islam so that you can slay them. You are actually in their homes, turning them out of their homes and then killing them in the streets. And the last qualification is, kill them because persecution is worse than killing. So it's saying, this is Allah saying to Muslims, slay all the non-believers wherever you find them, whether it be here in your own country or abroad where I'm going to send you. If they're hiding in their homes, invade their homes, drag them out of their homes, kill them in the street. And just in case you thought you weren't going to kill them, you were just going to, chop an arm off or something, no. Persecution is worse than killing. So that means you kill them, and that is merciful. And we know because Allah describes his great mercy as beheading the non-believers rather than torturing them. And this is the qualification for persecuting them is worse than killing them. Now we know when it says turn them out of their homes and kill them, that is very obviously not a defensive jihad like they will claim. But we know even more because their law code, which describes this in full, their current law code, this was written and published last year, is called Reliance of the Traveller. Now you tell me, which section of a functioning society applies laws to its people when sending them abroad? An invasion party of military soldiers is who that would apply to. So, in fact, Islam entirely, considering this applies to all able-bodied Muslims, and we can read the part for that, this is a military doctrine applied to all able-bodied Muslims, and the military doctrine has the goal of slaying non-believers wherever you find them, not capturing them, not injuring them, killing them dead, for the crime of not believing in Allah, not worshipping Allah. And they're not even allowed to hide in their own homes because you have to drag them outside into the road and kill them. And nothing else but death will do because persecuting them is not good enough. Persecuting them is just worse for you than killing them, so you have to kill them. So let's have a look at the Reliance of the Traveller, just so we know for sure this is exactly what it means. Because Muslims are going to try and tell you permissible lies. Rule number 8 is when to tell a permissible lie, when someone is offering a slight against Islam, trying to make Islam look bad, then you lie. That's permissible lies. But we're not going to read that. We're going to read rule number 9. Justice/jihad. That's how Islam sees justice. Justice is a war on the non-believers, described here as when you send your Muslims into other countries to kill the non-believers where you find them, drag them out of their homes and kill them, and not persecute them, just flat out murder them. That is what this is describing. And we know this is what it's describing because it even tells us. 9. Jihad means a war against non-believers. It is etymologically derived from the word mujahada, which means, a force of holy righteous warriors. Signifying warfare to establish the religion of Islam. So we know the goal is what it says here. The Quran goal is the same as their law code goal. The war against non-believers is to establish the religion of Islam while they are travelling in our countries. Not in their own, they're in our countries doing this. Incidentally, that means they're ignoring our law code. So the permissible lie they told when they arrived here is, I will be a loyal citizen, I will abide by your laws. No, they won't. I'll carry on. The scriptural basis for jihad, prior to scholarly consensus, is Quran 2:216. Fighting is prescribed for you, O Muslim, though you may dislike it. So Allah is saying to the Muslims there, look, Muslims, you have one job. Go and kill the non-believers in the jihad. Even if you don't like it, because you don't want to be at war for your whole lives and then die. You want to have a normal life, family, a job, maybe have some fun here or there. No. You have one job, O Muslim, says Allah. Fight the non-believers where you find them. Slay them in their homes. Drag them out and kill them. Don't persecute them. Murder them. And you're doing this to establish the religion of Islam in their land. That's the end of point number 1. So we move on. Point number 2, Surah 9, verse 36. Quote, But of those who have rejected the signs of Allah, treat them with arrogance and with spite. For he will make them companions in his evil fire, and therein they will abide for eternal punishment. End quote. So once again, no ambiguity there. Allah is telling it like he means it, and he is instructing his Muslims. But of those who reject the signs of Allah, i.e. when you see a full moon, a blood moon, an eclipse, when you see any natural occurrences of stellar or constellational events, that's what he describes as his signs. If you see the moon, and it's an eclipse, and you don't say, this is a sign that Allah is true and that I should be a Muslim, that's talking about you. You're the ones who's rejecting the signs being of Allah. Other Muslims will treat you with arrogance and spite past the point where they asked you, do you think this is a sign of Allah? And you said, no, it's just an eclipse. And then he qualifies that by saying, Allah will make them companions in his evil fire, i.e. he's going to send all these guys to hell to burn forever, and therein they will abide for eternal punishment. Now, it isn't described in this bit, but in another bit, he describes this eternal punishment. Your flesh will be burning off for eternity. And each time a bit burns off, some new flesh will regenerate. So you'll just be, you'll be like on fire, screaming your head off for eternity. And the reason that you have been sent to his evil fire to burn forever in great pain, in eternal punishment, is not because you've committed a sin. He doesn't know what you've done. He's only just arrived there and killed you immediately in your home. Dragged you out and slayed you. The reason why Allah is sending you to that eternal punishment, burning you in hell forever, is because by the time you were found by the Muslims, you were not willing to say, these are the signs that Allah is true, the moon being in the sky, the stars, everything else. You denied Islam when you were questioned. So that makes you the worst of evils, the worst of all creatures, die in hell, burn forever. That is the will of Allah. So I told you this was going to be quite bad, but we're not even nearly at the worst bit yet. So we move on to point number 3. Surah 11, verse 106. Quote, The wretched infidels shall be submerged into evil fire. Therein they shall find nothing there, except their own shrieks and painful cries of torment. End of verse. So this is further description, even though it's 2 books later than, the first bit we're hearing about if you reject the signs of Allah, you go to hell and burn. 2 whole books later, we're still talking about that same thing. Qualify. The wretched infidels, i.e. everyone who doesn't believe in Allah, who rejected the signs being from Allah, who didn't prostrate to Allah, who has any other cultures, faiths or religions, or is just an atheist, anyone else who's not an Arab Muslim, are wretched infidels. They shall be submerged into evil fire. Therein they shall find nothing there, except their own shrieks and cries of painful torment. So when you get to this evil fire, that's it. You're never getting out. 2 books after it was initially described, it's like 100 pages, we are still detailing the evil fire and how you and I will be burning in there because we didn't worship Allah. Religion of peace, eh? I don't think so. So we move on. Point number 4, verse 94 of Surah 2. This is a conversation Allah is setting up, like a theoretical conversation, if you will, with Muslims and Jews and Christians. And he's telling the Muslims, this is what you say to Jews and Christians. Say to the Jews and Christians, O Muslims, if your final abode be with God, but only for an elect, and not others, then sincerely you do seek your deaths. End quote. So I feel like this one is the first of these quotes that does need a little bit more explanation. Muslims say to the Christians and Jews when they're saying that you can only get to heaven through God. If you're a Christian, you worship Jesus. If you are a Jew, then you say Father in heaven, Yahweh. And the whole point in heaven is to block out the murderers, the rapists, the adulterers, the warlike, psychotic murderers, and bad people. Therefore, it is heaven. If we let all those bad, trashy, murdery people in, it will not be heaven. But Muslims are told by Allah, when they are told that, when Christians and Jews say only good people get to heaven, and they do that through recognising God's morality, don't kill, don't steal, don't adulterate, don't give false witness against your brothers, all that stuff. You say to them, O Muslim, if that is your final destination, your final abode, if you really want to go to heaven with God, and it's only for these elect few nice people who follow God's morality and don't murder, don't rape, and don't do all that stuff, and you're not going to let everyone else in, then you seek your own death now. So it's a threat. Allah is telling his Muslims, threaten Christians and Jews when they speak of heaven as a defence against them not wanting to be at war with you and having a problem with your jihad, your invasion of their countries. When you are there invading their countries, when they try and reason with you by way of saying you will not get into heaven through behaving like this if you keep murdering people, you should repent. You say to them, since your heaven doesn't include us, you seek your own death, then you kill them. Because remember, the earlier commands are that you kill these guys. So now Allah is giving the Muslims something to say before you kill them, so you don't have to feel bad. Then you have a chant after you've killed them to make yourselves feel righteous. And the only reasons you are doing this is because these guys want to go to heaven and they don't want to worship Allah in their own homes. And we get to the final verse of today's reading. Verse 434, Surah 434, point number 5. Quote, as to disloyal or disobedient women, who you fear will conduct themselves poorly in front of Allah, admonish, then have them sleep on the ground, then beat them, and if they return with obedient ways, only then seek no further means of discipline against them. This is Allah's grace and mercy. End quote. So what do you think Allah is saying to his Muslims there? Well, he's saying, as for disloyal or disobedient women, i.e. if a woman doesn't want to do exactly what you tell her, or she speaks to another man and you haven't given her direct permission. For instance, if the last time you beat her, you broke her arm and left her with a face full of bruises, and she told one of her friends that you beat her up, that's disloyalty. If she refuses to come back to you, that's disobedience. For those crimes, she's considered by Allah to be conducting herself poorly. You admonish her, so you tell her she's a scumbag, she's sinful, she's disgusting, she's a whore, she has no value, she should die, she's basically worthless. Then make her sleep on the ground. So kick her out of her bedroom, make her sleep on the ground, on her own, like a naughty child. Then beat her, bang, 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 punch, 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 beat, strangle, slap, beat. And only then, if she returns to her obedient ways, i.e. she forgets about the complaints she had about you beating her up last time, breaking her arm, and forgets about trying to run away, if she then turns back into your slave, then and only then will you stop punishing her and seek no further means of discipline. This is what Allah considers to be discipline. For Allah is grace and mercy is how he rounds out the verse. So that is Allah's grace and mercy in a nutshell. When you are speaking of your wife, or one of your wives, because we know they can have many wives in Islam, they don't just have one wife. When you are dealing with your wives, if they don't do exactly what you want them to do, if they try and escape from you or complain, or go to anyone else for help, this is disloyal disobedience, and you have to tell them they're absolute scum, worthless human beings who deserve what they're going to get, kick them out of the bed so they're not allowed to sleep in a bed anymore, beat them, and then and only then, after you have done that, stop punishing them, because they will have learned their lesson by then. And if they return to you and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, husband," then you can stop punishing them. Let them sleep in the bed again. Don't beat them. Stop telling them they're worthless scum until they do it again. And if they do this twice, you lock them in a house and you starve them. That's your Nisa. I should have put that in there, actually. So I think we can see now, in this short 15-16 minute video, it is very, very easy to come up with some verses in the Quran which are hateful, even towards other Muslims. Most of these things are either against unbelievers, random strangers in other countries, or your wife, if you're a Muslim, your wives. And your daughters also have to suffer this same fate. Religion of peace, though. That's what we hear. It's a religion of peace. Even though we know from these books here, different versions of Quran and their law code, Reliance of the Traveller, the method through which Islam is going to gain peace, as we heard, is by slaying the non-believers wherever you find them, in other countries, in their own home, killing them all dead, spreading the nation of Islam. You know, Palestine is their caliphate. That's going to be their core, the central piece. It's all going to spread out from there across the world. And the end times prophecy of Allah is this. When you are in the jihad and you are near to completion, i.e. you've killed virtually everybody else on earth and there's only Muslims remaining, but there's like 1 or 2 Jews hiding because, you know, you've burnt their whole country down and killed everyone. You must call out to the rocks and trees, O Muslims. Call out to the rocks or trees and say, "Rocks or trees, O rocks or trees, tell me where these evil Jews are hiding so I can come and kill them." And by Allah's grace and mercy, the rocks and trees will show you where those last Jews are. And when you slay that last Jew and he bleeds out into the sand, Allah will appear on a winged unicorn, split the moon in half, land on the earth, and then the judgment day will be over and he will create the paradise in which Muslims can pass through the holy door of honour to access and see the golden holy hidden mosque and the reward of the tent full of holy virginal brides. That's Islam in a nutshell. Kill non-believers to spread the religion, bully your women, make sure they know that they're worthless and they are supposed to be making babies for you to send to the jihad. Specifically, make sure you wipe out Jews and Christians, and when you're very near to the end, call out to rocks and trees to give away the positions and locations of those last Christians and Jews, and they will call back to you, O Muslims, and tell you where those guys are. And when you kill them, that's the first time Allah's ever going to be seen or heard from, because we know from reading these books, Allah has never been seen or heard from, ever. Muhammad claims that he was regularly spoken to by Allah, but in none of his writings does he describe what Allah looks like. He doesn't describe Allah's voice. He doesn't describe any personal descriptive things about Allah. And in fact, all the Muslims I've debated in the current day who claim they also saw and heard Allah, check my previous videos, when under intense questioning, gave the game away that they never saw Allah, they never heard Allah. Nobody ever has. So it's Muhammad they worship, who has created this character of Allah, who is a simile for Satan. That is why these evil verses are in here, why they call it a religion of peace, and why in order to gain peace, Islam has to murder the entire rest of the planet, apart from Arab Muslims who worship Allah. And then what do they get as their prize at the end of this? Holy magical virgin brides! Yay! And a new mosque, a mosque made of gold. So even after the judgment day, when they go to this paradise for forever sex with regenerating virgin brides, they still have to go to the mosque. So there you have it. In conclusion, Islam is a hateful, racist, genocidal military doctrine dressed up as a peaceful religion, which only insane cultists would ever believe or follow. And we know all this from those 5 verses, and from their law code, the Reliance of the Traveller, and the fact that they have 8 different versions of their perfectly preserved Quran, and not a single one of these perfectly preserved scriptures matches the original manuscripts which Muhammad claimed to have received from Allah and his angel. So that's the end of this video. Hope that answered your question and you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. God bless you all, and I'll see you lovely people in the next one. Bye now. Many thanks again to Coventry Punk for that fantastic question, which I hope I have answered in full. So just remember, ladies, gents and Pikachus, never trust Islam. And that's about all we have time for, so I hope you enjoyed that. God bless you all, have a lovely day, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one. Bye!